Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're heading to the heart of North Texas to explore the incredible story of Fort Worth, from a lonely army outpost on the wild frontier to one of the fastest growing big cities in America. It's a tale full of cowboys, cattle drives, oil booms, fighter planes, and an art scene that's second to none. So let's dive into how Fort Worth became the legendary city it is today. Long before there was ever a fort, this region was home to Native American tribes for thousands of years. The Comanche, Kiowa, and Wichita peoples roamed these rich grasslands, hunting buffalo and living off the land. In the early 1800s, Spanish explorers and later Mexican authorities claimed the territory, but few permanent settlements took hold here. When Texas gained its independence from Mexico in 1836, and then joined the United States in 1845, waves of settlers began pouring into North Texas. To protect these new settlers, the U.S. Army established a series of forts across the frontier. In 1849, Major Ripley Arnold chose a high bluff overlooking the Trinity River to build a new post. He named it Fort Worth, in honor of his commanding officer, General William Jenkins Worth, a hero of the Mexican-American War who had recently died of cholera. The fort was meant to guard against potential raids and to anchor American presence in the area. But within just a few years, the frontier pushed further west. By the early 1850s, the Army abandoned the post, mission accomplished. But the story of Fort Worth didn't end there. Civilian settlers quickly moved in and set up shop around the old fort site. They built stores, saloons, blacksmith shops, and homes. Before long, a small but determined frontier town was growing on the prairie. By 1873, Fort Worth was officially incorporated. At that point it was still a dusty outpost, struggling through economic downturns and even threats from outlaws and native war parties. But something big was on the way that would change everything. That big change came with the railroads. In 1876, the Texas and Pacific Railway finally laid its tracks into Fort Worth, connecting it to markets across the nation. This was a huge turning point. Almost overnight, Fort Worth transformed from an isolated village into a bustling hub for trade and travel. Cattle drives from South Texas would end right here, where herds were loaded onto trains and shipped off to Kansas City and Chicago. This made Fort Worth the ultimate meeting point for ranchers, cowboys, and cattle buyers, earning it the famous nickname Cowtown. The boom was immediate. Stockyards sprang up to hold thousands of cattle at a time. Hotels, saloons, gambling halls, and dance halls opened their doors to serve the endless flow of cowboys and cattle barons. One area, known as Hell's Half Acre, became notorious for its saloons, brothels, and general lawlessness. Cowboys flush with cash after a long drive were eager to let loose. By the late 1800s and early 1900s, Fort Worth was one of the largest livestock markets in the world. Major meatpacking companies like Swift and Armour set up operations right next to the stockyards. Then came the oil boom. While oil wasn't discovered directly under Fort Worth, massive strikes out west and in East Texas brought a tidal wave of investment and commerce through the city. Fort Worth banks financed drilling operations. New office buildings, hotels, and grand theaters started rising downtown as oil money flowed in. This wealth helped Fort Worth ride out hard times, including the Great Depression, better than many other cities. As the 20th century rolled on, Fort Worth found itself at the center of yet another industry, aviation. During World War II, a massive aircraft plant was built on the city's west side. Thousands of workers flocked to Fort Worth to build bombers for the war effort. After the war, this site evolved into Carswell Air Force Base, a key part of America's nuclear deterrent during the Cold War. Today, it's known as the Naval Air Station Joint Reserve Base, and defense and aerospace manufacturing continue to be huge employers. Lockheed Martin builds the F-35 fighter jet right there in Fort Worth, continuing a proud aviation legacy. But Fort Worth isn't just about cowboys and combat aircraft. It also invested heavily in arts and culture. In the early 20th century, local leaders and wealthy families poured money into building up the city's cultural institutions. Today, Fort Worth's cultural district is home to world-class museums, including the Kimball Art Museum, famous for its architecture and incredible collection, and the Modern Art Museum of Fort Worth, which houses stunning contemporary works. The city also celebrates its cowboy roots with the Fort Worth Stockyards, where you can watch real cattle drives down Exchange Avenue twice a day and take in a rodeo at the historic Cowtown Coliseum. Fort Worth is also famous for its festivals, live music, and of course, the Fort Worth Stock Show and Rodeo. which has been running since 1896 and is the oldest continuously operating livestock show and rodeo in the country. And if you want a taste of Texas nightlife, there's no place quite like Billy Bob's Texas, the world's largest honky-tonk, where you can dance, watch bull riding, or catch a country music legend on stage. Today, Fort Worth is one of the fastest growing large cities in America, with nearly 1 million people calling it home. It's part of a thriving metroplex with Dallas, but proudly maintains its own identity, a little more laid back, a little more Western, and full of that famous Texas hospitality. From a lonely fort on the Trinity River, to cattle drives and oil money, to cutting-edge fighter jets and high art, Fort Worth is a city that's always balanced rugged frontier grit with modern sophistication. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this look at the history of Fort Worth, give it a like, subscribe for more stories from Texas and beyond, and drop a comment to tell us your favorite thing about Cowtown. We'll see you in the next